sleight of hand. They sell you on the magic, they draw lines in the sand. But wait before you buy it, before you look away. Sundown's at the podium and he's got something to say. Stick around for the logic, stick around for the light. We're tearing down the mystic, we're making it right. Sundown's take town, Sundown's take town. He's just proved the quantum mystics and manifestation. Sundown's take town, Sundown's take town. He uses only lowly algebra manipulation. Energy in, energy out, the universe keeps the score. Don't believe the manifesting, there's always something more. Watch the math unfold, see the numbers align. Sundown is in the sanctuary, drawing the line. Stay for the proof, stay for the truth, watch the illusions fall. No ghost in the machine, we're answering the call. Sundown's take town, Sundown's take town. He's just proved the quantum mystics and manifestation. Sundown's take town, Sundown's take town. He uses only lowly algebra manipulation. Simple algebra, yeah, a little algebra.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm your omniscient narrator. I live in the fourth wall condominiums here in the British countryside. I am introducing episode 3 of the Zero Stalker Chronicles, the proof against quantum mysticism and manifestation. Humanity has always had a fascinating habit of taking the unknown and wrapping it in mysticism. The famous God of the Gaps fallacy is only the modern version of this. When the quantum realm was first cracked open, the sheer strangeness of it all had people convinced we had found the fingerprints of magic. But magic is just science we haven't graphed yet. Today, inside the steel walls of the Church of Minimum Entropy, a sanctuary where thermodynamics is gospel, our resident logician, Sundown Blackmore, is taking the pulpit. He's going to take Louis de Broglie's monumental 1924 proof, strip away the ivory tower mathematics, which even today requires graduate-level physics to decipher, and show us exactly why a quantum wave isn't a ghost in the machine. It's just a moving object.
Let's get one thing straight before we begin. This isn't my theory. This is the same math that Louis de Broglie used in 1924 to help build quantum mechanics. And what I'm going to show you today proves there is no mysticism here. A matter wave is just a moving object. We are going to prove it using basic algebra only. So, a really high-level piece of knowledge from the citadel of human knowledge and mastery is made accessible for people with a very modest understanding of this subject. As an overview, I will present the 5 necessary equations. Let's call these equations givens, or brute facts. And then, with 4 basic algebraic substitutions and subsequent simplifications, we will show something profound. Okay? Let's get started. We start at the absolute foundation of quantum energy, the Planck-Einstein relation. E equals hf. Energy equals Planck's constant times frequency. This tells us the total energy of a quantum wave. While originally used for light, Louis de Broglie proved it applies to all matter too. This E here is the energy that the quantum mystics and manifestation fraudsters are speaking about. They claim this energy is mystical and boundless. They also toss in the word frequency all the time, which is nothing more than the speed of oscillation. They speak of light energy and try to shroud it in mystery. It is not, as we will shortly see. Okay, Our next slide shows the universal wave equation. F equals v phase divided by lambda. F is the frequency, which is the same frequency we saw in the last slide. The speed of the oscillation. V phase is the actual speed of the wave in meters per second or miles per hour. Lambda is the wavelength with units of meters per cycle or miles per cycle. When you invert and multiply the units, the length unit cancels, leaving units like cycles per second, which is hertz. I am just telling you this to show you that the units all work out. Next, we have the de Broglie wavelength equation. Lambda equals Planck's constant divided by momentum. This equation is named after Louis de Broglie, so its importance should be obvious. The units of Planck's constant turn out to be unimportant due to cancellation with that h in the first equation, as you'll soon see. Getting cancelled might be bad in our culture, but it sure is nice when something like that just disappears from our equations. Okay. Our next slide is an oldie but a goodie. The equation for linear momentum. P equals mv. P is momentum, and m is mass, and v is velocity. Of all 5 equations in our brute facts starting point, this is the one most of you might already know. This brings us to our final equation for our 5 brute facts. It doesn't have a formal name, but physicists do refer to it with one of these 2 names. The phase velocity is the velocity of the wave. The velocity is the velocity of the particle or object. You might have heard of the expression the wave-particle duality of the photon. What de Broglie did was show that particles like protons and electrons also have this wave-particle duality. This equation bridges the 2 realms together into a single realm. There's no magic here. Under a particle's wave property, it travels at its phase velocity. When you collapse the wave function, the particle travels at its kinematic velocity. The act of transforming from a wave to a particle doubles the speed, as this equation shows. So, those are our 5 brute facts. Notice that all of these equations have a single item on the left-hand side and 2 items on the right. And, in all 5 cases, those 2 things on the right is either a simple multiplication or a simple division. Thus, the worst things we'll possibly see is invert and multiply and a squared item at the very end. Many of you might know about some real horrors of math, but this is really as simple as it gets for such an advanced concept from the Citadel. Okay. With that preamble, let's do the 4 substitutions and get our profound truth. Now we know from basic wave mechanics that frequency is just the wave's phase velocity divided by its wavelength. So let's substitute that definition of F right back into our first equation. We get E equals h times v phase over lambda. We have successfully linked quantum energy to the physical movement of a wave. This is where de Broglie's genius comes in. He knew that the wavelength, lambda, could be defined by a particle's momentum, p. So we take his relation, lambda equals h over p, and substitute it in. The h's neatly cancel each other out, and we are left with something much cleaner. Energy equals phase velocity times momentum. E equals v phase times p. But momentum is just a word. What is it really? Classically, momentum is just mass times velocity. P equals m times v. We plug that in, rearrange our terms, and suddenly our quantum energy expression looks highly classical. E equals m times v phase. Energy is defined entirely by mass, the instantaneous velocity of the object, and the phase velocity of its wave. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, we need to bridge the gap between the speed of the wave and the speed of the object. We already showed that with our 5th brute fact equation. This allows us to eliminate the v phase from the equation. This yields E equals 1/2 times mv squared. We started with the strict quantum definition of matter wave energy, and through 4 simple logical substitutions, we arrived at the classical definition of kinetic energy. There are no ghosts here. The matter wave energy is the kinetic energy. Matter waves are just moving things, and the universe, as always, keeps its books balanced. Okay. You may have heard of the correlation principle, which states that the higher-level physics we might gain in strange situations like relativity must reduce to the mundane equations of Newtonian physics. I have heard that remark regarding Einstein's relativity. This de Broglie proof now shows that this principle holds true for quantum mechanics too. The first law of thermodynamics concurs. If we had gotten a different energy, the first law would have objected. The first law instead quietly nods its head, seeing a nothing burger. So, All of this conclusively debunks quantum mysticism and manifestation. The energy of the wave-particle duality of matter does not change if you start from quantum mechanics to the macro world or vice versa. There is no gain in energy, no cosmic surplus, no boundless reservoirs of power for your mind to reach. This is why all of their claims to abundance, power, and enlightenment are simply a pseudoscientific grift of fraud. Thank you for coming.
And there you have it. The modern mystic loves to treat the quantum field like an infinite wishing well, a magical reservoir just waiting for human consciousness to manifest reality out of thin air. But the universe doesn't run on wishes, it runs on thermodynamics. As Sundown just showed us, the ledger is already balanced. The energy of a matter wave is completely 100% accounted for by the physical motion of the object itself. There is no leftover energy hiding in the margins. There is no surplus power available to manifest a miracle. You cannot get something for nothing. But creationists assert that God spoke the universe into existence from nothing. We know that's false because it violates the first law. Thus, with this de Broglie proof, the math is settled, the ghosts are evicted, and the first law of thermodynamics remains as always undefeated.
They sell you an infinite wishing well, a mystical secret they're ready to tell. They point to the wave and they whisper a lie, that the power of mind can pull gold from the sky. But the quantum realm isn't a magical sea, it's just mass and motion and velocity. The ledger is balanced, the numbers align. There are no ghosts hiding in the design. From a wave to a particle, nothing is free. It's the ironclad rule of thorononics, you see. The first law remains undefeated and cold, the greatest true story that's ever been told. De Broglie stepped up with the absolute proof. He stripped all the shadows right off of the roof. He took the momentum, the mass and the speed, and left zero room for the charlatan's greed. You can't speak the stars from a vacuum of space, 'cause energy never just poofs into place. The ledger